The hatchback is the most bought form of car here in the UK. And, well, there's quite a few to choose from, as each manufacturer is fighting over each other to try and get in on the action. You've got Ford with their rather funky Fiesta, Renault and their rather good Clio, and then there's always been Volkswagen's Polo, the sort of bread and butter average. Volkswagen want to change that with their new look Polo. Have they done that? Let's find out.
Labyrinth, come in.
Well, it certainly looks pretty sharp in comparison to the old one, which was a bit bland, if I'm honest, a bit hermetically sealed. But I have to say, since I've been driving this brand new Polo around, it has turned a few heads, especially in this match option pack that we've got here, with a few extra toys and those tinted windows. The car as a whole is pretty faultless, to be honest. It's your typical Volkswagen. It's so well put together. Everything is very solid. No cheap plastics. It's very refined. It's quite tranquil to drive, actually. And to be perfectly honest, in comparison to the Fiesta and the Renault, it does feel like it's worth the extra money that you spend on a premium car like the Polo. But that said, there've never really been any qualms about Volkswagen's build quality. They're as honest as the day is long, and let's be honest, your 17-year-old son who may end up driving your little runabout isn't necessarily going to knacker one of the cylinders in a 1.4 Polo. That said, its German ethos of being very refined, very measured, and very mechanical, I suppose as it should be, it's a car, lacks that sort of character, that flavour that you definitely get with the Fiesta. The Fiesta is a very involving car to drive. So, on the road, what is the Polo like to drive? Well, I can say it's an improvement over its predecessor. Its road holding is fantastic. You can really chuck it into corners and it just hangs on. The traction control isn't very intrusive, but you really would have to try very hard, even with it off, to start getting masses of understeer. Like I say, the grip levels are just fantastic in this car. What else deserves praise? Well, the gearbox in particular is just so easy to use. You change gear with one finger. It's just fantastic. Clutch is really light. I mean, the engine's responsive. And there's not really too much to dislike. But dislikes, because I'm a journalist, I can always find negatives with everything. Cadbury's cream eggs, one of my favourite sweets ever, but at the end of the day, they're still a bit messy. So, that's Cadbury's cream egg, the Polo. The steering wheel is really hard. You get those times where you just want to palm the wheel round when you're parking it, but the plastic is quite abrasive and it's not very comfortable to hold on to for lengthy periods of time, which is unfortunate. The brake pedal could use a bit more feel, and if you're going to drive it exuberantly, it makes it difficult to sort of judge when the anchors are actually going to take effect. The steering is also a little bit light. Like I say, you can chuck it into corners at speed and feel confident that it's going to stick in there, but whenever you really want to tailor it a little bit closer to the edge of the corner, or threading it just through a slightly smaller gap, it's not fantastic. Once you get above sort of 30 miles an hour, it still feels a little bit. So, what about its overall flavour? Is it the bland box that the previous Polo used to be? Yes and no. It's not the enthusiast car, and if you really did seek that really crisp sensation of driving a modern day hatchback, the Fiesta probably is the better option. But to be perfectly honest, this is the most relaxing car to drive in its class. I mean, it genuinely could pass as a saloon with the amount of tranquility. I had this going at 80 miles an hour down the motorway, and it was silent, absolutely silent. The quality of the machine is something that I cannot stress to you enough. And it does allow you to have a little bit of fun in that with that extra grip you can have some play time, unlike you could in the previous model. So yeah, on the whole, I really do like the Polo. It doesn't have the charm of the Fiesta or the Renault, but what I've seen from this car that is very well made, well priced. This actual model is 13,600, and for that you get a well-equipped and very reliable little city car, really, and you can't fault it for more than that. Why are you looking at the bank? Just drive your fucking car. That said, I do have an arch enemy that is built within this car, and it's eco-Nazi of a computer, to be honest. Every car these days generally has a predicted range gauge on it, and this is just the same. However, this punishes you with the wrath of Stalin every time you go anywhere near the throttle. It only measures in increments of 5, which makes it a little bit inaccurate whenever you want a true measure of just how far you can go. But honestly, you go anywhere near the throttle, that's it, you're denied another 5 miles of range every single time to either try and put you off driving like an arse, or just to generally annoy you. So yeah, that's quite annoying. Also, driving along, the computer continuously suggests that I should change up a gear to save fuel. I can't find a way to turn that off, and you can't ignore it once it catches your eye, which is a bit annoying. Other than that, I would heartily recommend the Volkswagen Polo to almost anyone.